It is a pleasure to welcome you to this event, to this talk on the vision of Artificial Intelligence China Council Foundation, well, the City Council of Madrid, really the Madrid Innovation Lab, and the Jean Monnet Chair in Technological Diplomacy. We are really at a key moment to ponder the challenges and opportunities posed by the development of artificial intelligence on a global scale, and it is a privilege to do so today alongside two institutions dedicated to promoting innovation and with two experts in China, such as Claudio Feijó and Arvid Wan. In recent years, we have witnessed a rapid transformation in the technological sphere, and China has positioned itself as one of the most relevant players in this process. The country has consolidated its leadership in artificial intelligence, not only because of the speed of its advancements, but also due to the depth and ambitions of its commitment. This phenomenon has implications to go far beyond the scientific field. The race for artificial intelligence has become a central element in the geopolitical rivalry between China and the United States, with repercussions across other key sectors. Today, we aim to analyze the Chinese artificial intelligence sector from multiple dimensions. Who are its main actors, the roles played by both the private sector and the state, how China is responding to the regulatory challenges posed by artificial intelligence, and of course, how artificial intelligence fits into the broader technological competition between China and the United States. We need space for analysis and dialogue that help us understand the scale of these changes. And today, I'm sure that this dialogue will contribute to that aim by exploring the technological, economic, and diplomatic dimension on this new reality, especially, I repeat, counting on the presence of these two experts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramon. And now, please, the floor for Jose Herrera, Director of International Relations at the Madrid City Council.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Let me also begin by thanking our fellows of the Spain-China Council Foundation, the Madrid Innovation Lab, our partners at the City Council, and the Jean Monnet Chair of Technological Diplomacy for organizing today's event. It is an honor to speak on behalf of the Mayor of Madrid and to welcome you to this important conversation. We gather here to explore a topic that is already shaping the present and will certainly define our future, the role of artificial intelligence in the world and the vision emerging in China. As Ramon has just said, China's ambitions and achievements in AI are impressive. But beyond the global headlines and national strategies, this transformation is also deeply local. Cities are not just passive observers of technological change, they are active laboratories of innovation. This place is an example. Cities are where the impact of AI is most visible and where its potential can be tested and scaled. Madrid, like many others around the world, is also investing in digital transformation. Let me give you a brief example. One of the key priorities for our City Council in this mandate is the completion and launch of Madrid's digital twin. You can explore several of the pilot projects that we are doing under this umbrella in the website dedicated to that. This ambitious project, powered by intensive use of artificial intelligence, is set to become the engine of our digital transformation. It will help us improve and optimize every public service we provide, from city maintenance to public safety, from green space management to transport quality, and from economic promotion to overall urban efficiency. AI is not a distant promise. It is becoming a core tool for making city life better, more effective and more sustainable. But we also know that we cannot do this alone. This is why collaboration is essential, not only among companies, institutions, or states, but also among cities. Dialogue and cooperation between Chinese cities and Madrid offer a valuable opportunity to learn from one another, to share experiences, and to build bridges in a time when global cooperation is more needed than ever. Just last year, we received at the City Council of Madrid more than 40 delegations coming from China cities in terms of exchanging ideas, projects, and cooperation. Today's event is also an excellent example of that spirit. By bringing together experts, policymakers, and citizens to examine how China is approaching the development of AI, we are opening the door to a deeper understanding and to smarter, more inclusive policymaking at all levels. Let me conclude by saying how proud we are as a city to contribute to this debate. It is our belief that only through open dialogue, international cooperation, and responsible innovation can we ensure that artificial intelligence serves the common good. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a productive and engaging session.
Thank you, Jose. Well, we can start now. I will be very brief with the presentations. We will try to cover a wide range of topics today, all related to what China is doing in the AI space, who the main players are, what are some of the challenges they are facing, some of the opportunities AI is producing in their society, how AI plays out in the dynamic of competition between China and the United States, among other topics. But since you haven't come here to listen to me, I will introduce our guests today, starting with the guest who's connecting from China. He's Wang Guangchun, also known as Arvid Wang, and whose presence today I especially appreciate since he's in Hangzhou today, which is 6 hours away. Arvid is an entrepreneur in the Chinese AI field. He's the CEO and founder of the company Laiye, specialized in AI agents for industrial use. Before that, and after earning a PhD in Princeton, he founded a company, an app for recommendation of movies called Jinwan Kansha, which he later sold to Baidu, where he also worked briefly. He visited our country last year as part of a delegation organized by the Spain-China Council Foundation. Arvid, hello, good night, and sorry, I guess, for keeping you awake this late.
No problem, no problem. Mucho gusto.
And joining us here physically in Madrid is Claudio Feijó. He holds the Jean Monnet Chair in Tech Diplomacy and Digital Sovereignty. He has a PhD in Telecommunications Engineering and a degree in Quantitative Economics, and he serves as Director of Entrepreneurship at the UPM, the Madrid Polytech. From 2014 to 2020, his main responsibility was to establish cooperation agreements with Asia's top technological universities while residing in China. And I believe it's fair to say that he's one of the foremost Spanish experts in Chinese tech, if not the foremost expert on Chinese tech scene. So Claudio, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks to you.
Well, I'd like to start with a broad introductory question. China stated a long time ago that it had a goal to establish itself as a leader in AI by 2030. I think it's fair to say that even now, even today, it's one of the front runners on the global AI race. So Arvid, could you give us an introductory view of how the Chinese AI landscape looks like today? Is China on track of achieving this goal?
Yeah, I think so. So like you said, China aspires to be a global leader in AI by 2030. So nowadays, I think there have emerged at least two kinds of companies that focuses on AI and are leading on the global stage. For example, the big tech giants like Baidu, the company I worked at for about 3 years, they're launching a lot of large language model and multimodal models, which are very competitive. Also, companies like Alibaba, Tencent, and ByteDance, and Huawei, these tech giants, they are also investing very, very heavily on developing the most advanced AI models. That's from the right now.
Okay, so Claudio, how do you see things from here as an introductory view on the Chinese AI space?
So let's think about this a little bit academically, no? Like orderly. So I would say if you want to build a powerhouse in AI, no, like China is trying to do, you need 3 ingredients, no? It's like the recipe. So ingredient number 1, you need computing power. This is where the US restrictions are aimed at. So basically it's chips. But then you look with more detail to the picture, and even if now there will be new restrictions, especially in these chips, no, the H20 that are more convenient for the part of the reasoning, the inference part. I can go into details later on this if needed. But even with that, first China has companies in China and even even many other stakeholders have accumulated computing power for years, no? Because the US let China, and everybody know the restrictions were coming. So then you were able to buy before that. And also, I think Huawei lately is proving that they are rather successful, no, with their Ascend. No? This is the equivalent to NVIDIA systems and the latest solution. I think it's especially rather convenient for the, and Arvid was mentioning Manus, no, for agents of AI, for the reasoning part. So, because basically, okay, the training is done. So still maybe you can have better models because of training, but then you have an agent and you can fine tune this with chips like the Ascend ones from Huawei. This is the ingredient number one, computing power. So even there's restrictions, I would say China today and maybe for the next years is well positioned, no? Because of accumulation and because having these new sources of chips, no, internally at home. And number two is data. You need good data. I would say restrictions for data. There are issues everywhere, but I would say in general, comparing to Europe, of course, and maybe comparing to the US, there are less restrictions in the usage of data in China, and the government is aware of this and is trying to build also data exchanges, because companies, industries, sectors, they don't want to share. No? Okay, they say data is the new gold. Come on, I'm not going to share my gold. No, I'm going to keep it. No? So they are aware of this and they are trying. It's a different solution. No? In Europe, for instance, we are trying to federate data. We are trying to, okay, we don't exchange data, you keep your data, but we share the algorithm on top of this. So number two, data. And I would say, again, comparatively, China is in a good position. And number three, and this is what is happening in Hangzhou, and this is also what is happening with the example of the 6 little dragons and many others. No, Arvid was putting some very interesting examples. Is talent. This is the number three. Or you can call it the algorithms. No, it's connected. No, for me. So computing power number one, data number two, and then talent number three. There's a famous phrase from Kai-Fu Lee that says that in the AI world you need to evolve the algorithm and the data, and I would say the infrastructure, together. For this you need talent. Previously, for example, in China there was this idea, no, and maybe Arvid, you are a good example, going to Princeton, to a good university, and then coming back, or you mentioned the case of this company, Google, no? Went through Google, moonshot, and then coming back. But for me, one of the interesting lessons in the case of DeepSeek is basically China engineers, engineers educated in China. So this is for me the key observation from Kai-Fu Lee. Maybe you need, of course, top talent, but maybe you need more good number, big figure of engineers who are able to work together with the data, with the algorithm, and in this way evolve the whole thing. And this is exactly, the phrase of Kai-Fu Lee is from 2018, if I remember well, and it was a good prediction because DeepSeek happened in 2024 or 2025, in whatever way you want to see it. So altogether, is China going to be a powerhouse in AI in 2030? Leadership, we can discuss about leadership, but the powerhouse, absolutely, resoundly, yes, completely, because they've got the three elements you need for that, no? The three ingredients.
What's your view on this, Arvid? You are an example of someone who educated himself, at least for a bit, in the US and then came back to China. Do you see many cases like this? Do you see a growing trend like this? More and more Chinese talent that did PhDs overseas coming back to China? Claudio, would you like to add something?
Yes, made me think, no? What Arvid was saying made me think. Which are the important lessons from the case of DeepSeek, no? What can we learn? One thing is this idea of engineers and talent. And this is important for Madrid, by the way, no? And this is important also, there's an important message for Europe. But beyond that, look, we thought in this, when combining these three ingredients for AI, we bought some US narrative. We thought it's about computing power. It's about muscles. It's about being very big, not having these clusters of now 100,000 GPUs altogether. And all of us, the Chinese also, maybe only 8 months ago, by the summer of past year, or also in Europe, we thought we were going to be laggards. We were, okay, behind. Still we need our own models, no? Sovereign models, because one day, maybe in the US, they decided to unplug and to keep us. So you need to develop your own models, and also because there's a connection between language and the way that you reason. A part of it, maybe 20%, is connected with language and thinking are connected in a way. There's something general, but there's something a little bit more cultural. So for these two reasons, it makes sense to have your own models, even if you are lagging behind. But then the DeepSeek told you, hey, it's not only about computing power. It's also about talent. It's also about putting imagination, being creative, innovation. And this is done with basically local engineers educated in Chinese universities. This is a super important message. This is a key message for Europe. And we should be thankful for DeepSeek and the ecosystem in Hangzhou to make us realize there was this opportunity, not just running and knowing you are going to be second or third in the race, but never winning this race. And also, maybe not for now, but I also want to mention the importance of open source. This is another key element in the picture that is sometimes is neglected, and also is a powerful message for Europe.
You both mentioned the city of Hangzhou, where you are right now, Arvid. How is AI innovation distributed geographically in China? Are there big clusters like Hangzhou or Shenzhen, which has for a long time been thought of as Chinese Silicon Valley? Any other clusters you would like to mention, Arvid?
Sure. I actually just traveled from Shanghai to Hangzhou today. I'm currently in the hotel in Hangzhou. So Hangzhou actually caught us by surprise to foster this new generation of 6 little dragons, some of the top AI and robotics companies. So Lai was actually founded in Beijing, and I was born and brought up in Shanghai. So I didn't choose Hangzhou to start my own company. But now in this new wave of AI, Hangzhou is playing a more critical role. Starting with DeepSeek and also a robotics.
So Claudia, what's your view on this geographical distribution? Why Beijing?
The first thing is I start hearing Shanghai and Hangzhou, so many places that I lived many years there, so I miss them. Makes me a little bit sad, especially Hangzhou, no, the West Lake. Okay, so but let's suppose I come from, I don't know, I come from Mars, and someone explain me a little bit about China. Where will I locate? Where I will find talent, computing power, data to place my AI company? So for me, yes, still number one place will be Beijing, no? Probably Zhongguancun, no? In the famous district, where all the top universities are located. Still, I don't know, ByteDance, to put an example, is located there. So, and also, let's be frank, you need to be a little bit close to the source of power, no? Because in the world of AI, you need to influence a little bit. You want to understand the regulation, how it's coming, also the main associations exploring what will happen with AI are located in Beijing, so you want to be part of that ecosystem. Makes sense, no? And then we have this, no? You have mentioned Shanghai, but they are a little bit, yes, interesting. They are catching up. They have this approach, competing, no? There are city funds, even sometimes districts, they are competing. Pudong will give you this university in Jiangpu, district will give you money, this other. So this extreme competition typical of China. But the important question is, what is happening in Hangzhou? Is something happening there? Are there any lessons? There are some traits. For instance, do you need to be in a place a little bit maybe more open, where maybe the local government is a little bit more supportive? Do you need to be a little bit more, have, I don't know, hunger, no? Hungry, because you want to be a little bit better, no? Do you need maybe, of course you have wonderful universities, no? Zhejiang is the top 3 maybe university in a number of areas. So you need to have access to this talent, but this talent with hunger. Is this something important for us? Is it something that maybe we can expect disruptive innovation from places that are not so obvious? And while in Beijing maybe it's more like the usual thing, or in Shanghai they have other opportunities, maybe more in fintech or maybe more in software in general, but not especially where you need to work very hard, no? Engineering, no? In AI. And of course there are other places, no? Shenzhen has been mentioned because of the connection with hardware, but there are other places, no? Maybe, I don't know, Chengdu, and then you have maybe a little bit also link with media and, I don't know, video games. So if you put all of this together, one thing that might happen for a little while and still is happening in China is a little bit of overcapacity. We've seen that with electric vehicles, with cars, and maybe the same will happen with AI. So you know this arbit, no? The war of the 100 models, no? Everybody trying to get the best model, but sometimes competition is good, but extreme competition also you waste some resources. So this is not completely clear to me. So there are many clusters, they will be still competing, trying to get the best model, new innovations. DeepSeek has opened a new door, but is this optimum? I don't know. For us, I will say there's something in Hangzhou, and I will be interested to go there and deep dig it and understand better what is happening there. No?
You both mentioned local inputs in developing AI. I would like to ask you both about the role of the Chinese state in developing AI, and generally speaking in innovation. And by Chinese state, I mean both central government and also regional and local governments, which is timely given that we are at a Madrid city government facility. How does that model compare with the US model, where innovation is mostly led by private capital? Arvid. Claudio.
You know, many times when I give talks on China, I say, I come from the future. And this is another case, and I explain why. This is because this is a planned economy, no? Top-down system. So they were the pioneers in coming back to industrial policies. Now everybody is trying to do industrial policy, but they were the first ones, again, because they realized you need to align the private and the public interest. If you don't do that, you are not going to progress at the right speed. So when they do industrial policy, they do everything. This is on the supply side, so you help your companies in which way. For instance, as Arvid was saying, providing free computing power or or whatever other is needed, and also on the demand side. So you try to be buying stuff, and you also try to help other consumers of these solutions, and you try to push the whole thing. Finally, if you think, you realize what the US has been doing lately is also industrial policy, because the CHIPS Act is basically industrial policy. The Stargate is industrial policy, aligning public and private interest. And now looking to Europe, which is the most recent policies on AI factories. Sorry, the AI factories in Barcelona Supercomputing Center, we should do something here in Madrid about that as soon as possible, maybe. But this is, again, industrial policy. And not only that, we are going to launch an AI academy from the Commission, trying to help 1 million related jobs with AI, etc., etc. So China was pioneer. Then we can discuss if this is it's a level play field, the same rules apply there that we can apply here. But I think for me, more important than that is realizing this idea of industrial policies in some key sectors. If you want to be part of the game in the future, you need to bet everything, and betting everything means public and private.
I would like to talk about regulation now, which is a harsh but important issue when it comes to AI, because there is this ongoing global debate about the potential rewards of AI and also the potential risks and the trade-offs associated with this debate. Without getting too technical about it, what would you say is the approach of the Chinese government to regulation of the AI space, and how do you think it contrasts with the approaches that are taking other players like the US or the European Union? So Arvid, if you want to go first, please.
Yeah, so normally Chinese government is a little bit
So Claudio, what's your view on this issue?
I will distinguish between, let's say, internal within the country in China, and something very important that is external, no? A little bit of soft power, no? Thinking outside. And in the internal part, I cannot but agree with Arvid, of course. So I would say AI regulation in China has changed a lot in the last 3 years, maybe, becoming, as China regulations are, allow me to say this, Arvid, rather comprehensive, so you have pieces, but at the same time, it's a little bit complicated to navigate. It's like patchy, no? There are pieces, and it's not obvious and how to deal with that. There are some red lines. So I would say, yes, the focus, and he was saying this, and I think fully agree on that part. Red lines on, basically through permissions on models and algorithms about control on content, no? That goes, it makes sense with China preferences for narrative and his current view on his own culture and his own role in the world. But then in China, you also need to distinguish between regulations and some of the people here know this, in the room know this very well, and implementation. That's a different style. And this is where you can see how the attitudes of the government is trying to help innovation. Because if you follow what is written in the regulation, you will have, like a little bit like in Europe, a little bit of a nightmare of difficulties. But in reality, it's very loose, no? The way that it's implemented. And unless there is some social noise or there are some cases in tribunals, it's rather loose. I would say, this is my view, I might be wrong, but I would say consumer protection is there, but it's the last thing. So in China, you can do experiments, you can try different things, very innovative, even if it's in a gray area around regulations. This is a key element. And then, okay, if something goes out of control and it doesn't make sense, then you stop it. For instance, one piece that China is missing, and it's a difference. China hasn't got yet an AI agency. Many other countries are launching AI agencies. Why? Because regulations are complex, because this is an evolving, and it's better, or it's easier to fill the gaps with an agency that's trying to write everything and going always behind the state of the art. No? I would say that. And why China has not yet this AI agency? Because probably, as Harvey was saying, because they think this will be better for innovation if you leave some room and you don't try to control everything. I think this is at least a key observation. But this is internal. And then you have the external part. And here in Europe we think, well, China has its own issues on regulation, but I don't think we are aware that China is becoming the champion of AI regulation in the global south. Because this is the focus for many of the things that happen in China. It's not us. I don't know if we are important or not, but sometimes I doubt it. But for China, it's the global south that is a very unfair term. So, okay, but we understand each other if we use this idea of global south. So then they are telling, hey, we want to have regulation on AI that makes sense, that it also makes sense with you, and they are providing some important message in these other countries. Like, for instance, be sure that AI is not going to use to meddle into your internal affairs. This is a key thing for China, but it's also a key thing for many other countries. When they think about the US and they think AI, this is going to be another way of trying to micromanage what we are going. So China is being very intelligent, very smart in selling this role as leader beyond their frontiers in regulation of AI. And we should be very aware of this because I think it's also important for Europe.
We have a little bit more than a half an hour, so I would like to ask a couple more questions before we open a little space for questions from the audience. I would like to go now into geopolitics, which is touchy, contentious, but very timely. And first, I would like to start with a question at the intersection between politics and tech. How have the tech restrictions imposed by the Biden administration and upheld by the current Trump administration impacted on Chinese AI space? A couple of years ago, I was talking to a Chinese entrepreneur, and he told me that they would have an unintended consequence of boosting the ingenuity of Chinese engineers. Would you say this has been the case by now? Arvid, please first. Thank you, Arvid.
There are, again, I think, interesting lessons from China. If you check textbooks and academic papers, what happens with restrictions? Is there less innovation or more innovation? And you need to be blind not to see that there are more than half of the cases where there have been restrictions, you have more innovation. That's logical. I mean, if you depend on that, And if you think your life depends on developing some technology, obviously you're going to innovate. What, are you going to grow your arms and leave the whole thing? No. So finally, this already happened in China. You mentioned open source. Why? Maybe you are not aware, but there's a huge culture in China on open source. Why? Because there were restrictions. Because it was easier to do innovations on open source than in closed software. And also because Chinese engineers were proud to contribute to open source because they thought we are regarded as second grade. While in the open source community, if you do something, you help develop some project, then you have recognition. So this is something connected maybe with your ego. So this is important to remind. And in fact, big factor of the success of DeepSeek is because of open source. This is one thing. Another thing is thinking long term, not thinking short term. So you might have difficulties in the short term, but if you have this long-term view, then this might help you to find. I think there are two other consequences for me. Might be that because of the restrictions, we diverge. So maybe the innovation path in China will be different from the US, and I don't know if Europe. So this might be a different type of consequence, no? Divergence, going in different directions. Might be a more fragmented world. Might be there have been cases of this in the past, and for me the other one is now we are going to see a surge, a lot of innovation in hardware. Arvid was mentioning, Huawei, of course, and Cambricon, that's been like a unicorn, specialized in chips for AI calculations, and probably we are going to see more about that. So we already have innovations in software, in AI, let's say, but now I think the focus will be in innovations in hardware, and that if I will be from the US and I will be focusing on restrictions, that will be a little bit worrying for the US.
So one last question, also related to geopolitics. What role do you think that AI plays in the great power competition dynamic between China and the US? As a thought experiment, what do you think would happen if one of them reached that mythical milestone of artificial general intelligence, or AGI? Arvid. Did you let your mind fly?
Yes, I was thinking. I'm going to say maybe a couple of terrible things. Of course, I agree with Arvid. I've been agreeing all the time, so really good. But I'm going to go a little bit beyond. So we don't know how real is achieving this AGI. Maybe many experts think at least this first, the productivity, version of AGI that Arvid was mentioning. Let's stay on that one. And they think maybe it's 5 years from now, maybe in the coming years. I'm a little bit more skeptical, but this is maybe the consensus now. It will happen, and it will happen soon. Let's suppose this is the case, for the sake of the exercise. The issue is the connection between this AGI and something called supremacy. For me, that's the scaring point. In the sense that, let's suppose that your company or your country achieves this. I always ask this to my students. Which will be the first question that you will pose to such a model? Suppose that you have this intelligence like us, but able to access to every data. So you have like the best scientists on Earth together with all the data. So you can probably have the best answer. So which will be the first answer, the first question that you will pose? And then I leave a little bit of time for you to think. I have my students, if they are young, they always say how to make this world better. Okay, fine. But when people grow older, and I do ask the same question to more like CEOs of companies, they start thinking, why, if we don't ask how we can keep being the number one? This is supremacy. You have a system where you can ask the question how to stay on top forever. There are a number of people who think along these lines, so we achieve this AGI, then it's connected to supremacy. Okay, this is the first part of the exercise. But now let's suppose that you are in country B, and you know for sure, because your intelligence is good enough, you know for sure that country A or company A in country A is going to achieve this AGI in the next year. What would you do? Would you just sit and say, okay, if this is truly connected with supremacy, this country, this company is going to lead the world for the next 20, 30, 50, 100 years, forever? What would you do? Will you sit and do nothing? This is why, for example, there's a paper from Eric Smith, from Google, arguing for some kind of deterrence, also some kind of non-proliferation.
Like with nukes.
Some tools like the nukes, because we need to ensure that this is not used to achieve supremacy if there's such a connection. And this is the terrible thing, part two, I don't think we are living the times where that agreement would be possible if we are going in that direction.
I have run out of questions, but we have 20 minutes left or less, so I have a mic here, and if anyone has questions or comments for any or both our guests, now it's the time.
Only difficult questions.
Only difficult questions. Anyone raising hands? No?
Okay. So I have a question about how the AI can bond with another new technology, which is the quantum computing, because Claudio has said that one of the limitations is the data, the power of computing, and also he has said that there is going to be a lot of innovations in hardware. So I have the question about how the AI and the quantum technology, which is also a new race between United States and China. There are some China companies also reaching the quantum computer. So how connects the AI and the future quantum computing? How the possibilities and all these things? Thanks.
Arvid, do you have any views on this?
Yeah, well, I'm not hearing it very clearly, but I think he's asking about how quantum computing can help develop.
Well, yeah, how do AI and quantum computing intersect these two new frontier technologies?
I'm only going to say something very, very simple. AI is a horizontal technology. So AI will accelerate many others. In particular, will accelerate quantum computing. No? We have problems with control of errors in quantum computing. That's the key difficulty today to build a quantum computer. So AI will help. So think AI as something that supercharges, accelerates many other areas, science and technology. And I think this is also something relevant. No?
I think the lady over there had a question. Yes.
Thank you so much. My name is Johanna Jacobson. I'm an EU lawyer and international trade lawyer. Maybe I just stand up so you can see me better. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for an amazing panel. It's really one of the most wonderful discussions I've had on AI recently, and I've attended many panels on AI, so congratulations. My question is more about geopolitics. So I'm wondering what would both of you think about Europe's positioning in these complex times? And obviously our natural partner for decades has been the United States, and it's maybe more natural for European, states, cities, companies to collaborate with Americans. And now obviously Chinese companies, the Chinese region state are providing us with a more, let's say, a new position, an interesting alternative, all right? So what would be your, let's say, advice to European operators how to position ourselves to keep doors open to both regions and also maybe to avoid possible US sanctions if we collaborate too much with Chinese? Thank you.
Do you both want to answer this question? Do you have any view on this, Arvid?
I think the professor has it.
Please, Claudio, professor.
Okay, so thanks. First, a disclaimer. I used to work for the European Commission for a while, so I have a very European perspective. So first, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. No? So for a little bit Chinese like me, we share this crisis and opportunity. They share this Wei-Ji, Ji-Wei. So there's something, crisis opportunity. If we look in terms of the opportunity, what is needed to have some sort, I would say, a little bit of sovereignty and a little bit of strategic autonomy in Europe. So taking a little bit your decisions. The pressure for Europe is going to be terrible because, of course, China, overcapacity, interest in trying to drag us a little bit apart from the US, and also US asking us, hey, what are you doing? So the pressure is going to be terrible. Just the last trip of our president of the government to China has been criticized in a way, while it's a logical move. No? You want to have a direct channel with the Chinese, makes a lot of sense. But you will have a lot of critics because of that. No? So this is going to happen more and more and more. But if we look, we go to basics, what we got in Europe in reality, we have the Brussels effect, but maybe this is too much already, and we have oversell it in a way, so enough. But something that is clear, if you live in Europe and you see Europe from the outside, we have talent. We have tons of talent, fantastic talent. And there's a Chinese lesson. Talent is what will help you to build innovations and something different that is not just following others, no? A little bit blindly. So I would say talent. Then you have the drag report telling you maybe we should open more data and not so much restrictions on data. I'm not a big fan of that part of the drag report, but okay, maybe there's something. Maybe we should push in this idea of federating data, of data spaces, of letting the algorithms go together, go around and check this data and build something maybe. And then we have the difficulty with the computing power. So this will take us 5, 10 years to have something to be a little bit more sovereign. So basically, the conclusion, if you add everything together, we will need to navigate huge pressure from everybody. This is already happening. It's already happening. So we need good navigators. So start learning how to take the wheel. Huh?
Do you have anything to add, Arvid, or should we move on to the next question?
The person nailed it.
Okay, I think Ageda, I think, is raising her hand, and also a lady over there. So please, Ageda, go.
So thank you very much for the conversation. That was really insightful. And my question is about adoption rate. I want to know how is the adoption rate in China, and what are the most useful activities that consumers in China use AI for, and if you think that the adoption rate could be the next geopolitical tool.
Arvid, did you hear loud, clear? If you did, yes.
AI in China.
So if you did, please go on.
other workforce solutions for companies and government agencies. They're all looking at ways to improve internal efficiency and reduce costs, especially given the harsh economic environment. Everyone wants to increase productivity and lower costs. So a lot of digital workforce solutions have been adopted. Financial industry, the retail industry, manufacturing industry. So the government agencies are also adopting these defense automation solutions. Yeah, so this mandate from the central government to the state-owned enterprises to embrace AI. And recently, there seems to be there's even mandate to promote DeepSeek within those large enterprises, large state-owned enterprises. Yeah, those top leaders at those state-owned enterprises will ask specifically, do you have a DeepSeek solution? Have you incorporated DeepSeek into your current automation platform? Yeah, so I would say it's both bottom up from the popular bank and also top down from the government's strategic direction.
Thank you, Arvid. Claudio.
The question from Ageda was always super intelligent, because China has been very successful, maybe today also in some disruptions, but has been very successful in adopting, disseminating, no, and achieving incremental innovations in a number of areas. So applying this AI in a number of industries and learning, no, learning economies, they all know how is going to be key. I have the impression there was some resistance in China before DeepSeek, because they saw, well, maybe Qingwen is not a good example, but some others, they thought, well, maybe there are models developed in the US, they are not local models, but DeepSeek has changed this. So now we are going to see a quick, this is my understanding, a quick adoption rate, and again, they are going to try to use this very rapid cycle. They are experts in getting incremental innovation, but incremental innovation plus incremental innovation, and you look at a number of them and it looks like a disruptive innovation, and this will maybe take you to leadership. And also I think in China, the experiments will happen because of this loose regulation. So a number of the experiments will happen there. So then we have a mirror, sometimes a distorted mirror, but a mirror to try to learn and decide our own path. No? I think this is also relevant.
I think we have time for one more question. The lady over there asked for it. Please go on.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the super interesting conversation. I want to do a very, I don't know if it's controversial question, but I don't know. I was thinking about this for a long time. So I'm going to talk about humankind. It's like we have been talking about China with the top places where the software and hardware is developed, also the US, but there are other regions in China that we have been not talking about, and also the regions in the US and many other countries and places around the world. So with the development of the AI, of course, we are going somewhere, but it's a tool for something. So also getting the idea of Claudio when he was talking about supremacy, I have some feeling sometimes that a question more than a feeling is like, are we developing from our privileged place? Are we developing a new race, a new humankind, very separate from other places? Because we are saying, as we were talking about, you enter everywhere, you have AI, you enter everywhere, you have a computer, but this is not true, because there are many, many, many places around the world that there is nothing. And my question starts, a few months ago I was in a congress and I was talking with an expert in education and technology, and he was saying we have to give iPad to every student when they are having lessons. And this will allow the students to communicate with other people abroad and so on. And I say, but if the people abroad, they don't have the iPad, we cannot communicate with them. So education here, not only to this Europe, US, and China, I think is very important. So my question is, what do you think about this humankind separation? Two different kinds of humankind in the future? What is going to happen?
I'm not sure if you listened clearly, Arvid, but if you didn't, the question would be, do you think that there is now a two-track humankind? Two-track human races, tier one countries that have access to top technology and talent, and a tier two of people who don't. Do you have an optimistic view about AI as a good force for the whole humankind?
Yeah, I heard this is a controversial topic, right? But it's a very deep question. I'm actually more optimistic on this because what this technology is going to create boundaries. Right? AI is, if we are used well, I think it's going to create tremendous connectivity for the entire society in my term. The reason there are two tribes, I think, is because the resources feel limited, right? So the rich always want to grab more resources, and the poor doesn't get enough resources, so they can't catch up. So there is this geopolitical issues of battles. But that's given, the resources are scarce. So now AI is this new defining technology will actually allow resources to be abundant and hopefully unlimited for the buying power. So if this is the case, then my optimistic view is countries will stop fighting against each other. And these two tribes will stop exploiting. The rich tribe will stop exploiting their poor tribe, right? If the future start worrying about what work I can be doing, because you're not working for money anymore. All the jobs is done by AI and robots, right? So that's my optimistic view. Um, yeah, so this is the democratizing technology, and hopefully if we leverage well, not become an existential threat to the mankind, then it's going to lead us to a world of progress that everybody can live harmoniously.
Claudio, please don't be a downer. This is the last.
Yeah, well,
I'm begging you.
Maybe I'm not the best for that. So, yeah, it always happens like this, no? I mean, many of you been in China and know the country. Basically, they are optimistic, no? While here in Europe, we are pessimistic, a little bit. That happens. So let's try to go to facts, no? Laura, that was a difficult question, really, no? Question will be, what do you want AI for? No? And let's ask those who are developing, and let's try to check the evidence. And I see, like the song, no? This I think was Bruce Springsteen, no? Rich man wanna be rich, richer, and rich man wanna be king, no? So something like this. It looks like they want to become richer, some of them, and some of them want to have more power. I'm still looking for those who want AI to make this better place, no? In general, there are some small good development, not to avoid this pessimistic final remark, but a little bit more optimistic. For instance, China is trying to share their models for, I don't know, disaster relief in a number of countries along the Belt and Road Initiative. That's a good example. In Europe, what are we doing? Are we sharing our models to try to help others? Maybe the Spanish one, Alia, we are trying to share them in Latin America a little bit. Okay, so well, that's a good signal. But again, coming back to Europe and our approach, maybe this is another chance for us, no? To send a serious, a strong signal that we are able to do things in a different way, sharing and not just trying to be the ones, no? In a way. Let's see.
Well, it's 2 a.m. in China, Arvid. You really need to go to sleep now. But please don't log off just yet. We're going to take a picture. Just give me 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks. Thanks, Claudio, for joining us. Thanks to the Jean Monnet Chair on Tech Diplomacy. Thanks to the Madrid City Council for hosting this event. Thank you. Ramón, José, ¿se ha logueado?
No, no, no.
¿Pero que se fue?
Sí, esa parte no la he entendido.
No lo he entendido. No lo he escuchado. Bueno,
Pero había fotos.
hay fotos de sobra.
Fotos. Sí, antes de que lo tire, lo rompa o haga alguna cosa que no deba. Es que me lo estaba haciendo porque creo que rozaba en algún sitio.
A veces sí, a veces es muy sensible.